into lecture halls at the University of British Columbia because we need to recognize that we're going over 2 degrees increase in global average temperatures within the next 20 to 30 years. We'll be disrupting classes for 30 seconds. We go into a lecture hall, one person makes an announcement, another person hands out the leaflets for a talk that's upcoming to the students. We ask the professors if we can make an announcement, and they say yes or no. And either way, we just make an announcement. And sometimes the profs take it well, sometimes they don't. And we're willing to accept the consequences, whatever they might be. If they drag us out, that's fine.
How do you feel?
I'm always nervous, but it's funny because you just have to go for it and just do it.
Zane Hack is the co-founder of Save Old Growth, and he's been arrested multiple times in the name of saving the environment. They're targeting university campuses across Vancouver to spread their message.
I'm really sorry for disrupting your class, but...
And this is the first of many classes they'll be disrupting today. Zane says Save Old Growth began out of frustration from Fairy Creek. They had multiple arrests with very little change. That inspired Zane to connect with fellow activists and change their direction. They needed to get more visible and target their approach.
How do you feel?
Oh, it was great and wild at the same time, because not only was that the same class that I went to, it was in the same building, and I even saw the same TA that I had back then.
I feel good about this one, actually. This is the least nervous I've been while disrupting a lecture, because I went up to the prof to ask for permission, and it turns out it's someone I knew who used to come to these activist meetings a while ago. And he said, oh yeah, go for it. And he said, do you need a mic?
Save Old Growth is focused on just that, saving old growth forests, specifically in BC.
So the general idea is that you demand something really minor and you do something really disruptive. So that's really based on that, is that it needs to be dramatic, it needs to be fast, it always begins with a small group of people. And within 5 months, you either win or you lose. 5 to 6 months. So that's the idea. That's what we're challenging ourselves to do, is that usually movements, if they take longer than 6 months, civil disobedience movements, you probably won't win. And it needs to be something that's a minor demand. So in this case, it's something that the provincial government can do. It's not a big federal issue.
He adds by focusing on a minor demand, it allows them to gain traction and build momentum before focusing on the larger issue, climate change.
No, go away.
Hi,
Hey, I said
I'm with Save Old Growth.
Excuse
Sir
me.
David King has
Excuse me,
has
please,
told
no.
us
You
that
asked,
with
I
3
said
to
no.
4 years
Please,
left
no.
to save humanity.
Please, no.
We, with
Can you
respect
call
to the climate
security, please?
emergency,
No,
we
this is
are
not
a civil
okay.
resistance group.
This is not okay.
What does it feel like when someone is in your face like that?
Yeah, it's not it's not easy for sure, but I feel like every single time it happens, it's getting easier for me.
I personally don't like it. I don't like upsetting people at all. But it's a muscle that you build over time, I've noticed. It's like the first time I was on the road, my legs were trembling. But it's something that you just adjust to because it's what's required.
Making people angry isn't the goal, but the idea is to get attention, and this isn't the last time they'll be disrupting people. Save Old Growth is working on a 3-part campaign with the idea that multiple arrests will lead to legislative change. In Phase 1, you might have seen them blocking the Trans-Canada Highway in key cities across the province. Here they are in North Vancouver, halting traffic on the Ironworkers Memorial Bridge. This is Nanaimo. Here they are in Victoria and Revelstoke. That resulted in 54 arrests. Now they're in Phase 2, which is about education and building momentum. This leads us to Phase 3, which will include more highway protests and more arrests.
Most of the fear that comes about getting arrested is mostly psychological.
I feel really bad about this, but
I usually meet with the police before the action period to say that, look, we're a nonviolent movement, we will be breaking the law, and I want you guys to know that it's all peaceful, it's all nonviolent. And they say, okay, that's fine, as long as you're not running away. There's no overreaction from the police, usually. The scary experience can be the confrontation with the drivers sometimes. Because with Save Old Growth, when we disrupt the Trans-Canada Highway, again, there's cars right in front of us, and some people get really angry sometimes.
sorry, we're in the middle of class. Sorry, we cannot.
The prof obviously wasn't happy that we were disrupting the class, and it's funny, like when you start making those announcements, you look into people's eyes and some people think it's just ridiculous, so you have to repeat, and then you provide a pathway to action, which is that you can come to this talk in March. And yeah, so it is a bit nervous because they could have like called security, they could have gotten more physical, but yeah, she was ultimately fine with it because we were brief and we were to the point.
At first, their efforts were volunteer, but now they've secured funding.
There's a climate emergency fund that's willing to fund all these civil resistance projects around the world. And so we got a round of funding for the second round of campaign. So we were able to, like, everyone was able to quit their jobs and work full time on this, which is what we need. And we can't engage in proper civil resistance if you're doing it on a volunteer manner.
Okay.
You are not powerless.
Okay.
You are not powerless.
You make your case. It was not the first time.
That class is on natural disasters.
What does it feel like when people laugh at you?
Honestly, I look at them and say, like, you're losers and you're going to die if you don't do anything.
So you're getting people's attention, you're seeing a ton of different responses. Where do you go from here?
I think success looks like hundreds of dinner table conversations. We provoke an emotional response, which is what we need right now. It's non-violent, it's disruptive, it's transgressive, and it gets people talking about the emergency that we're in. And we just keep doing it until it reaches a tipping point where people have to decide which side they're on.